Welcome, viewers, once again to my channel. Today, I am streaming live on my channel that you are aware of. Today, we're going to be discussing a proposed social media ban for under 16s. If this is your first time watching my video, I'd like to say welcome to my channel. If you are a returning viewer, I'd like to say thank you very much for always supporting me. Now, we're going to talk about the proposed social media ban. Over the past months, there has been news items, there have been stories all across the digital media and even offline media concerning certain countries' intentions and proposed plans to prevent under 16-year-olds from accessing social media platforms as a result of the fact that they have realized that some of these young folks or some of these younger ones, as a matter of fact, can be affected by these social media platforms. Today, we're going to be discussing. I would also wish that you also share your views on this topic. Now, let's look at the rise of smartphones. You see, smartphones, laptops, and tablets have become common. Children as young as the age of 10, 11, 12 have access to smartphones and the internet, right? Social media has also become part of teen culture around the world. Even in less developed countries, and even in Africa, as a matter of fact, there are a quite large number of young people, I mean, teens below 16 years, who possess smartphones or who have access to smartphones. And as a matter of fact, to laptops, tablets, and what have you. Even in these current times, there are television sets as well that also have access to the internet, where younger people can also tune in to watch social media platforms. For example, you can have YouTube on most Android TVs, etc., and then many other platforms as well. So the point here is that now, why should countries be concerned about this? Don't we have the negative and then the positive side of, I mean, social media and its influence on the youth? See, 75% of teens, that is between 13 and 17, have social media profile. That is according to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. 51% visit social media at least on a daily basis. So this tells you how, I mean, interested these teenagers are when it comes to social media and the use of social media platforms. Social media keeps growing. And as it keeps growing, there are new platforms that are coming up every now and then. Now there's even Bumpy, a new one that is coming up, which looks a bit like TikTok. There are other platforms coming up. And this is due to the fact that there is demand for, I mean, social media content. You will talk about the fact that there are even platforms that have children related sections on the platforms. For example, the YouTube Kids, where there are contents that suits or that relates to kids. So for me, I think social media is one of the greatest thing that has happened to mankind, bringing people together. Now, if we are to eliminate these younger ones from this opportunity, then what will or how will the world going to be like for these young people? Because every now and then, social media comes out with a lot of opportunities as well. Even though there are the bad side, the opportunities are more, right? So why is the growing concern over social media's impact on younger people? Is it because it has become a daily part, or it's become part of daily life, especially for kids and teens? You see, social media isn't only about games or isn't only about fun, right? It also have some very much educative aspects in terms of opening younger people up to the globe. It has helped a lot of younger people to understand and to know about other continents. If you take, for example, Africa, a lot of younger people have been able to get to know about Africa. Hitherto, they wouldn't have known about Africa through social media, right? But there are also concerns about some of the negative consequences. People are talking about cyberbullying and online harassment among teens. But then, if you follow social media, you hardly see comments about, cyberbullying, especially in Africa. Maybe in advanced countries, it might be of, but then yet, because of social media, now we all have our eyes globally. We can see everything that happens across the world, in major parts of the world. Now let's talk about cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, according to the Australian government e-safety commissioner, right, around 20% of Australian teens have experienced cyberbullying at some point. That's just 20%. And this had also actually lead to some of the concerns. But the fact is, have this actually had any consequences as in negating the benefits of the use of social media? It is reported that 1 in every 5 teens reports being harassed online, and only 1 out of 20 victims report bullying incidents, cyberbullying incidents to authorities. So these are some of the things that these countries or some of the nations that are considering proposing a ban on social media are actually hinging their point on. But the fact is that if you take social media out of the youth today, because it is one of the major vehicles that is also improving the social well-being, the emotional well-being of these young people. If you take a look at most of these advanced countries, they have very smaller families, right? Unlike Africa, where people give birth to a large number of families. Some of these children sometimes feel lonely, and social media is one of the places where they can go to, as a matter of fact, to have some kind of company, right? So, like I said, it goes beyond fun and games, right? It is providing, some kind of company. So if there is an issue of cyberbullying, then I think what authorities need to do is to contact social media platforms to find a way of preventing cyberbullying. In fact, if you are somebody who have been using social media for a long time, you got to realize that there are measures in place on some of the platforms, right? There are measures in place on some of the platforms. There are community guidelines as well, which users have to abide by. So it is not just a green field or an open space where anybody does anything at all. There are regulations and there are guidelines. But you see, the human being is a bit of a complex, institution. Being human, we are complex a bit. It is not easy for you, as a matter of fact, to be able to handle all aspects of this issue, right? So I think the issue of cyberbullying can be a concern, but there are guidelines. Each and every platform have community guidelines, and they are very particular about that. I remember I posted a video of I posted a content that had a soundtrack of something like a gunshot, etc. And I received a message from YouTube that my video has been blocked from a particular country. So normally, if it is a war-torn country, a country that is going through some kind of an instability, some of this content will be blocked from getting to these countries, right? So I think the social media platforms are doing every little thing within their capacity to ensure that their platforms are safe, they are convenient, and reaching out to its objectives, right? Social media has been built for several purposes. And as a marketer, the opportunities that social media have brought to the world of business and marketing is so overwhelming. There are companies selling kids items. There are companies selling products related to children, like games, like children apparel, and this actually opens up an opportunity, right? There are even companies selling children educational materials at various levels. So this serves as some kind of an opportunity for businesses and as well also for the well-being of society. So there are issues of social concern balancing that of business. So the triple bottom line is working when it comes to the social media platforms. The triple bottom line is working. What I mean by triple bottom line is that they're not only looking at financial, right? But they're also looking at financial and as well as the well-being of the society as well. And even as well as the environment as well. So it is important and very, feasible for social media to be integrated into every society. The issue of mental health impact of social media on young people is a bit understandable. But even offline media also have some kind of a mental impact on social media. Sorry, on younger people as well. Because during the days of only TV was the major media that we got exposed to. TV and radio was the only media we got exposed to, maybe magazines, etc. They also had their own impact, right? And children were not banned from those media. The only thing they do is that they normally use guidelines and also put up societal marketing concepts and issues. As a matter of fact, that really prevents younger people from reaching out to certain content. So you see this particular content is labeled under 18 or labeled under 60. You see, so there are societal concerns. Businesses or the platforms also think about society. You cannot run a business, you cannot run a platform without thinking about the society. So the issue of mental health impact that is not only limited to social media, but also to traditional media. Even billboards have come under attack. The issue of pollution on a stick, the issue of driver safety, for electronic billboards and so on. So there are lots of issues out there, and all these things are driven by societal marketing concepts and societal marketing issues, ensuring that the end user of the platforms are not affected when patronizing and then after patronizing. Research has shown that there's a strong link between social media use and mental health issues among young people. There is no doubt about that. It's a study published in the Australian Journal of Psychology. It also found that excessive social media can lead to anxiety, depression. It is just the same for the traditional media as well. If you take TV, radio, and even magazines as well, excessive use can also lead to the same issues. So I actually don't see why this issue had to be taken or should take that shape to prevent our younger ones from reaching out to social media, which is opening them up to the world as well. You can learn from anything: how to dress, etiquette, learning, solving homework, sharing ideas globally, making friends globally. And as a matter of fact, so this is the way is actually fostering and building diversity among the younger ones. There are these findings as well that 70% of teens reported that social media affected their mood negatively. Of course, these we also see on traditional media as well. See people driving big cars in movies. Let me tell you a story of one of my younger cousins who used to watch a lot of cartoons. I don't want to mention any character. He used to watch a lot of cartoons, and one day it happened that I think he's been watching that particular character for a long time. One day, before I realized, he had gotten to the balcony of our story building, and he was attempting to jump from the top to the floor or to the ground. So we asked him, why is he doing that? He said he want to be like ABC. Like I said, I don't want to mention the name of any character. I want to be like ABC. So he wanted to jump. And I'm like, he'll get hurt. He said, no, when he watches those characters on TV, they don't get hurt. They can fly from one building to another building. They can move from one building to another building, right? So these are some of the issues that we are talking about, right? The difference here is that with internet media, it is ubiquitous. You can take it everywhere you go, right? And as a matter of fact, you can't take TV everywhere, but you can take radio everywhere you go. You can take magazines everywhere you go, right? So the issue needs a bit of further, rethinking and analysis, because that means that teens in other parts of the world will be moving ahead of teens in another part of the world where social media will be banned, right? Young females are particularly vulnerable, facing increased pressure regarding body image. This is also same for, I mean, traditional media. Let's imagine if there wasn't any internet, there wasn't any social media. We would have still used our traditional media. I, for one, used to love a lot of magazines, reading magazines a lot. I can go to the library and then pick celebrity magazines. I'll pick magazines that, depict lifestyle, celebrity, musicians, actors, and read about them. So, as a matter of fact, what I'm trying to say here is that even if we're not having social media, let's imagine, let's go back into the years where we didn't have internet, we didn't have social media, nothing. Let's go back to those years and see if it wouldn't have had the same issue. We used to watch music videos of hip hop stars and the way they dress, and we depicted the same thing here in Africa and in the country where I come from. We could dress with the jeans, our jeans, turn the jeans backward, the front going to the back and the back coming to the front. We're dressing like hip hop artists when we were young as well. And that time, in late 80s, early 90s, where was social media? There wasn't like social media, but magazines as well. And we were teens. We were teenagers by then, but we could go. Sometimes your dad can even buy a magazine, place the magazine on the center table, and then you get access to it. So these are some of the issues that we are talking about. So it is not just a matter of social media being banned, but I think regulations and stricter guidelines should come in. AI has come, and I believe AI can do more in solving this problem. AI can do more in solving this issue. So let's take a look at AI, what AI can be done. Maybe probably if AI could find a way of preventing this younger generation or these younger adolescents or these younger teens from overusing the platforms. Probably, I think day in and day out, people are researching. There are breakthroughs, and I believe that one day there's going to be a breakthrough which will also help regulate these younger ones from overusing social media. Social media is important, and one group of people can't be denied from this. For me, I think social media, if you take a continent like Africa, social media has been a very, very, very important platform to Africans per se and to African adolescents, to African teenagers, to young people in Africa. That's exposed them to people can take their smartphones and watch videos about any country they want to see how the country looks like. This has shaped the mindset of a lot of people. People who hitherto would have loved to travel outside of the continent who prefer to live here. It is also trained these under 16s here in Africa, as a matter of fact. That's trained them. By the age of 20, some of these young guys are millionaires because it opens them to global business, digital business. They learn about digital business. People started posting when they were at age 13 Now they've come to understand social media platforms, the algorithms, and all that, and have created jobs for themselves. People have become millionaires, especially in Africa. People have become millionaires because they got exposed to social media at their tender age and have been able to grow up. I mean, learning social media, understanding the platform, and all that. See, if you take a look at most of these platforms, in marketing, we have something we call the diffusion of innovation, how new things, when they are introduced, they get diffused into the society or they get into the society from a group of people to another group. We realize that most of the time, the innovators, as the first people to adapt some of these platforms, are the younger ones. And then gradually it grows to the early adapters, etc., and then gets to the laggard as well. You realize that social media have become part of the world. So even if this didn't have to happen in other continents, I would urge African leaders not to. Because for Africans, it is a huge opportunity for us. It is a huge opportunity for us. Like I said, what they need to look at now is to ensure they put in age appropriate regulation and parental controls. And like I said earlier on, AI is still working. Let's not forget about the fact that AI is the future of the social world, as a matter of fact. So let's give the platforms, some time to work on this. You see, age restriction has been a problem even for traditional media, right? Even for traditional media, because if you have a television in your house and you are not around, maybe unless you put up parental locks on certain channels, your children can go, and even the children of today have become smarter. Like I said, in Africa, it is actually helping us. You wouldn't believe a 7-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy in Africa can just pick the mother's mobile phone and begin to play games on the mobile phone. Right. So children this generation are used to smartphones, they are used to tablets, they are used to computers. It is within their age, right? And it's going to be a very difficult task for us as a people to be able to eradicate the use of these devices in our countries and in our communities. The youth, and for that matter, the teens, are used to these platforms. You'll be surprised how they can pick your phone from you and quickly enter into the phone. So now, even if you have to ban, what about parents who give their children access to their mobile phones? Or what about children sneaking into their parents' mobile phones? Right. So these are issues. So even if you, let's say, stiffer regulations or you ban it totally from younger ones accessing it, what about reaching out to their parents? I mean, devices. Their parents have devices that basically they can't reach out to, and definitely they will be able to reach out to, right? They will be able to reach out to this, as a matter of fact. So for me, I think there is much more to this particular issue than to just push children off the media. I'm talking about in Africa, if it has to go global, because it could be a global wave. It can easily become a global wave where other countries would, as a matter of fact, also follow suit. It does happen, and it's likely that it can happen. There could be a wave, and if that happens, what will happen is that the entire continents of the world, countries of the world, will also be looking at some of these things. But then let's not forget about the fact that if we are to go into the actual benefits of social media, it is actually overweighs its disadvantages, I must say. So it is important for us as a people to take a second look at this. I know one day Africa will basically also, as a matter of fact, will be faced with this concerns. But in Africa, this is a huge opportunity for us. It's $1 billion industry that basically people learn from their teen ages. Some of the top internet people in Africa started learning when they were teenagers and have actually become conversant with these platforms, as a matter of fact. So it is important to get to understand the fact that if we as Africans, it comes to the West and it becomes global, we will need to also look at it from different perspective and, as a matter of fact, from different angles. Wherever you are watching me from, the channel is This is Godwin. Don't forget, as a matter of fact, to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this issue. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button and subscribe for more of these discussions coming up. Please don't forget to leave a comment. Leave a comment now. I'm waiting for your chats. Now, let's look at proposed legislations and key provisions. So now, what are some of the legislations that some of these countries are actually looking up to? Some of these countries are taking steps to introduce legislation to ban social media for children under 16. But the point is, like as I raised earlier on, your dad has a mobile phone, your mom has a mobile, your brother has a mobile phone, your senior brother has a mobile phone. And I also talk about the fact that even traditional media also is also another thing. But I think the addiction is also another issue here, as a lot of young people are addicted to social media. Even with the mature people, even as the mature people. Right. These issues should also look at some kind of building some kind of a collaboration or relationship with this platform so that these platforms can also come up with modern regulatory, systems to be able to reduce the impact of addiction to these platforms. But I think the good things over there on social media is more. So the more people also get addicted to a particular thing that is actually providing value, the more they also learn. So certain age limits, especially for those of us here in Africa, if we have to take this, I don't think would actually work. But we are told the major platforms will be required to enforce these restrictions. So in terms of account creation, that means that if you are below 16 years, you cannot own a social media platform in these countries. And there are also, proposed fines that they are also putting across. But then let's also look at the fact that these social media platforms are providing value and are providing the positive aspect is more, especially for those of us in Africa. So if this thing has to come to Africa to prevent under 16s from creating accounts, then it will be something else. I am not sure even Africans will even be ready for this. Africans would not be ready for this. So this video is just to sensitize all Africans and to all people around the world watching that social media does more good than harm. It is a whole big business. Like I said earlier on, for me, it is the largest university in the world. People are learning all sorts of trade. I'm talking of legal trade. these platforms, like I said, have community-related guidelines. So, to some extent, I think social media is one of the greatest findings or one of the greatest things the world have ever had. Now, let's talk about parental consent and verification mechanism. Now, if they are to also propose for parental consent and verification mechanisms, that means that now, are we going to say that now these platforms, if you have to create an account, the account have to be created by your parents. In advanced countries, they have a lot of information and data where they can actually get the systems working, but not in Africa, right? So that means that over there, what they have to do now is that if you have to open or own a platform, have a profile on any of the platforms, then you would have to, as a matter of fact, have the consent of your parent. So your parent will have to consent, and maybe probably some verification mechanisms, some control mechanisms to block certain contents, right? So let me read this. The legislation suggests that social media companies must implement a parental consent system. This would ensure that parents are aware of their children's social media activity. Verifying age accurately remains a significant hurdle. So that's another issue. How do you verify the age of these younger ones? But I think in advanced countries, they have the systems, the measures in place where probably they could, register the accurate age when in terms of creating account for some of the social media platforms. But I think Africa, if you are listening in Africa, I think this thing, when it comes to Africa, I am not sure Africans will ever be glad to handle this. It will just be a no, 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 no for Africans. I am not sure Africans, as a matter of fact, would basically embrace this. Because one, like I said, verifying it accurately would also be another big header and a very huge issue to tackle. Also, what about bypass of verification systems? Like I said, the younger ones have studied the internet, they have understood social media, and they enjoy using social media platforms the most, right? So they have understood the platform and they know how they can bypass verification systems, right? Verifying it accurately is going to be another issue. Maybe they need to provide their ID cards, etc. too. Maybe that would be one of the ways to maybe your national ID to be able to open an account. But will that actually happen in Africa? That is a big question and a big square pill to swallow. I don't think Africans in any other way will basically think of banning social media for teens. That would be I am not sure the generation will even be happy when they are watching their short videos, making friends, connecting with people, learning about businesses, meeting business partners. Like I said earlier on, by the age of 20, some people are already millionaires in Africa because they get to learn and meet people on social media, interact with them. There's that exchange of culture, knowledge, etc. across social media. People have found dates on social media until they became matured. They will just be chatting with them till they both get matured and they link up. So it's a big issue that I think in Africa, I'm not sure Africans, when it comes to Africa, Africans will basically embrace this thing. But those advanced countries, they have the systems. And if they believe that they can work on this to ensure that the proposed ban goes through, fine. But I'm not sure even the teens themselves over there in those countries are even okay with themselves. They will never be okay with this ban, right? So as a matter of fact, I think the platforms are also doing everything possible to ensure that they do not allow people to just post content or create content or also prevent addiction to their platforms. So maybe, for example, if you use a platform for about an hour, maybe you should be able to get a pop-up that you have to take a break, right? Especially for accounts and assisting. I think this would also work. But there are a lot of guidelines. For example, if you want to open certain obscene or certain risk images, there's a pop-up that tells you that this particular content contains, mature and sensitive, content. So these are some of the things that I think the platforms are doing everything they can do. So we in Africa, I think social media is a good thing for us, right from the teenagers to the seniors, the baby boomers, etc. You see, the proposed ban has sparked debate on its necessity, on the necessity of this social media platforms. Some people think, or some advocates believe that this will protect children from online harms and also enhance child safety. But globally, the issue of cyberbullying, especially in Africa, we don't hear much about cyberbullying in Africa that much. Right. Another issue too is that I think there should also be some kind of an education on country by country basis that certain things that we see on social media as young people, certain things they see on social media shouldn't basically be taken as something that is, I mean, what it is, right? So these are some of the things. Restricting access in a way would also work. For example, improving or giving more access to educational resources and social connections, right, would also work. Another school of thought also believe that if they limit social media to teens under 16, it's also going to actually alienate them from connecting with other peers around the world. There will be fewer opportunities for learning and collaboration. People meet on social media and share ideas about assignments and share ideas about cultures and share ideas about festivals and so on and so forth. Travel, visits, and so on and so forth. And there's one thing we also forget about the fact that these platforms also have online support for vulnerable people. There are people who have also taken advantage of social media to report issues of bullying, cyberbullying, and abuse and other things. Right. If you report any issue of cyberbullying to any of the platforms, they are going to investigate and react. Right. If you report any issue of mental health resources or issues to any of the platforms, they're also going to investigate and react. So, in a way, they are putting measures in place, right? So, this particular debate that I'm doing for Africans, I don't think Africa, when it comes to that stage, we have to take this because the social media has been a great and a fantastic platform for all of us, both young and old. Don't you think this will also eliminate children in marginalized communities and prevent them from linking up with other people in much advanced communities or fortunate communities? For me, I think these policies needs a lot of deliberation and analysis. Like I said, in Africa, if this were to come to Africa, I'm not sure Africans will actually be happy with it. Africans love social media. Social media is actually changing, I mean, impacting lifestyles positively as well, even though there are some negative aspects, but the positive aspects overrides the negative aspect. Social media platforms have helped African teens have actually benefited. They have learned a lot on social media. Wherever you're watching me from, kindly let's chat. Leave a chat there. Let me know what you think about this particular topic. And you think if you live in Africa and and you think this could have impacted people in Africa as well, let me know your comment. Now, let me know some of the ways you think that this issue can also be solved. How can we solve this issue practically and pragmatically? Now, what are some of the potential challenges and implementations? So, potential challenges and implementation issues. Now, like I said, they can enforce these particular, I mean, policies, right? But how well is it going to work? If your daughter comes back from school and picks your mobile phone, run into the bedroom and use your mobile phone, he's still going to get access to social media, not so. So how are you going to monitor, total refrainance from social media? Monitoring, platforms. This will pose a significant challenge. This will also require a lot of resources to adhere to these new rules. So it is a huge challenge. Now let's look at balancing children's rights and parental responsibilities. There's also a balance between protecting children and allowing parents to make choices for their kids. So now, is it going to be that the issue or the whole proposed ban means that it is going to dictate to parents to make choice for their children? So this whole issue have a broader stakeholder consequences. As a matter of fact, it has a very broad social stakeholder consequences. As a matter of fact, not only the children. So, like I said earlier on, are we going to debate about the fact that parents would, as a matter of fact, now have to be forced to make choices for their kids? Don't use social media because there is a caveat, or there's a legislation that says that children under 16 shouldn't use. So this is also going to be another issue. So the balance between protecting children and parents making choice for their kids. So it also involves engaging parents in discussions about the use of these social media platforms. Now, what about issues of technological evasion? Some of these things are savvy. They are very savvy. They are technologically savvy. Like I said, I get amazed sometimes when I see smaller kids handling mobile smartphones as if they produce these smartphones. They are so intelligent. They are so vibrant, and as a matter of fact, they can easily switch functions on mobile phones easily. They can easily switch functions on mobile phones quite easily. So this issue would also be another concern because of the savvy nature of some of these young people. They can easily find their way and break into social media platforms, even if restrictions are there. So there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of hurdle. There's going to be a lot of issues to tackle. There's going to be a lot of issues to tackle. And in fact, I must say that if we have to take a look at the younger ones, majority of them are tech savvy. And this has been as a result of the fact that they have been using social media and, for that matter, have access to smartphones. It is important to also consider the tech savvy younger ones. let's not forget about the fact that the younger ones are also skillful and are smart enough to get their way around. Now let's look at the role of parents, teachers, and other related stakeholders in this matter. You see, it is something that requires a holistic approach to as to the level of interest and the level of power of all the stakeholders. Are parents equipped enough with information to monitor and guide their children's online activity? So that means that there have to be a lot of workshops on how to monitor children's online activity, how to set parental controls, and so on and so forth. So these are, I mean, these are issues that basically ticks the clock. It is a whole complex issue here. What about educators, teachers? That means that in schools, which cater for children under the age of 16, there has to be also some form of education in these schools or these institutions to ensure these children understand this. This is a major change. This is going to be a change. And how are these kids going to overcome this change? How are they going to overcome this change? So that means that they have to start from home. As they say, charity begins at home. So there should be parental education and guidance on this issue. Digital citizenship. Digital citizenship. That's the issue of digital citizenship. How are parents going to get involved in monitoring and guiding children's online activity? Children can also hide their activities from their parents. So that means that parents would have to be savvy as well. But the question is, how savvy are some of the parents? As these younger teens are much more savvy, even than some of the matured people. They are much more savvy than some of the matured people. Right. So there should be guidelines on effective parental control and online child safety. There are websites like OnGuard Online and all that. But how many of our parents and even our educators know about this? So there also need to be some kind of collaboration between schools, communities, and the platforms. So the platforms, communities, and schools. This is very important so that there could be a common way of reducing the negative effects and rather enhance the positive values of social media. Later did I know that some even, as a matter of fact, solve their homeworks collaboratively on social media. People in similar grades or in the same grades can collaborate on social media and solve their assignments. So this is something that is extraordinarily different, something that's extraordinarily important. And I think, as a matter of fact, we as a society needs to take this into cognizance as it is something that is actually benefiting our younger generations, as a matter of fact. It is something of value to these younger generations, right? People have built business empires because they got exposed to social media. I'm talking in terms of Africa. They got exposed to social media in Africa, right? People at very tender age have been able to make it through as a result of social media exposure and so on and so forth. So this issue happens to be something that we need to take a critical look at and be much concerned about. Let's, as a people, think about ways to rather make the platforms more advantageous. Like I said, it requires lots of stakeholder collaborations and as well. And then the question here is, do you think in countries where the youth are a bit or the teens are a bit sensitive, you think they are only going to sit back like that and see social media clear of their smartphones and their devices? See, it is important to get to understand the fact that the youth or the teens have become used to social media. It has become part of their culture. Even in Africa, where not everything has have access to smartphones, with the recent increase in the use of smartphones, the younger ones are also getting hooked up to social media as well. So it is going to be something that will grow. Social media usage among teens is scheduled to grow day in and day out. Now, the debate over some countries putting a stop to social media for under 16s can be a very cumbersome and a very complex topic. Wherever you're watching me from, I'd like to say you're welcome to my channel. This is Godwin. If you have not subscribed yet, kindly hit the subscribe button and subscribe. Don't forget to comment, share, and like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this. And please let comments be air friendly. Let me know why you think this issue, if you are in Africa, let me know why you think this issue can never come to Africa. And if you think in case it comes to Africa, what do you think Africans will do to handle this? Because in Africa, social media basically is also gaining grounds as well. And within among the teens, those within below the 16s, right? There have also been concerns about exposure to risk content or, adult content as well, which is also a matter of great concern. But I think, in as much as parental control comes in, if you buy a smartphone for your kid, it is up to you to ensure that you register and make sure that you ensure that the age is the actual age for your child, so that he or she doesn't receive content that is above her age group. Viewers, it is very important to understand that social media is good for everyone, whether old, whether young, whether I mean, it is just something, and you'll be surprised that there are even functions on some of these social media platforms that enable even disabled people to also enjoy social media as well. For example, the blind and those who can basically not see well. So it is something that is actually catering for all manner of people, right? So if it's going to eliminate children in certain communities, then I don't think it will be the best. And I'm saying this in the context of Africa, as a matter of fact. And I hope and I pray this thing doesn't come to Africa, that teens should be prevented from using smartphones. Like I said earlier on, it also creates an avenue, a platform for the younger ones, as a matter of fact, to also, as a matter of fact, also address their grievance. Some of these teens have gotten online support from these platforms. Vulnerable youth have gotten support and help. Marginalized communities have also gotten some kind of support and help. So the proponents of banning these platforms to social to under 16s might also need to think about the other side of it. In Africa per se, we embrace social media and it keeps increasing. You will find people on YouTube, you find things on YouTube, you find things on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X, Pinterest, Bumpy, TikTok, and many other social media platforms that are coming up. And like I said at the beginning of this presentation, I said that the platforms have platform community guidelines, platform specific guidelines that is guiding the use of these social media platforms. So they are not looking unconcerned. I said earlier on, and I talk about the fact that there are societal marketing considerations as well. Taking a look at the impact of consumption content on those platforms and social well-being as well, and the well-being of the teenagers. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and subscribe, support the channel. I'll surely be doing part 2 of this video, and I'll get a guest who will join me in the second part to discuss this issue. So it is important that you subscribe so you don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button. That's a black button. If you are on other platforms, hit the follow button. Right? If you're watching me on my other platforms, hit the follow button. But if you're watching me on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are watching me on Ambo, also hit on the follow, right? And then, as a matter of fact, let's not forget about the fact that social media is here to stay. Social media is not going to leave the world today or tomorrow. Let's talk about the impact on businesses that, as a matter of fact, also benefit from social media platforms as well. Though advertising to children might be another issue, so we don't talk about. But then, how about games, online games, companies that produces games that are consumed mostly by younger people? So, like I said earlier on, it has a broad perspective. It has a very broader perspective, and stakeholder interest in terms of level of interest, level of power is a bit balancing. We have heard of some countries ready to go ahead to prevent our younger ones from these platforms. But as an African, I don't think no African country for now is thinking about this, as a matter of fact. This is because of the benefit that we Africans are getting from these platforms. We are really benefiting a lot from these platforms. And as a matter of fact, we will continue to embrace social media platform. But a good thing here is that we have also legislations here as well that also control the use of, content and the use of these platforms as well. So it is not that Africa is just overlooking things. You can't just post any content on social media and go scot-free as well in Africa as well. So it is something that internally things are being done. But like I said, the issue of parents, educators, and the platforms plays a crucial role. So there had to be some kind of a collaboration between these stakeholders. Like I said earlier on, are parents going to make choices for their own kids? Some parents might, as a matter of fact, be of or be in support of the fact that their children use social media, right? Let's take an instance where you have a small family, you're living with just one kid, and the kid comes home and you're always busy. Can the kid always be watching TV? Definitely, he can jump onto social media and connect with other people around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's weigh the benefits and challenges of social media. The debate over banning social media for under 16s is something that can be debated over and over and over and over. It is good that we reduce the harm that social media have on the younger ones as well. But in Africa, we haven't seen that much of the issues of harassment and then harm and then mental health. So there's this dichotomy between harm, education, and social connectivity. Now, this proposed legislation by some of these countries could shape the youth of these countries, as a matter of fact, as they will be missing in action. They wouldn't be getting access to social media. Policymakers, parents, and technology companies must work together to provide a balanced approach. It is more to put in more safety measures than to totally ban it. So that children safety is balanced with education and social opportunities and networking. Let me see your comments. Let me see what you think about this particular topic. It has been one solid hour discussing this issue right here on my channel. This is Godwin. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button and subscribe. Don't forget to comment, share, and like. Thank you very much for watching. And I hope to see you on my next live presentation on my platform or on my channel. This is Godwin. Until I meet you again, I'd like to say thank you very much for spending your time, your valuable time, watching my live presentation. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe.